Dionne and Jason Johnson. Thank you both for being here.
Glad to be here, Rev.
EJ, before we get to the silence of Republicans, I mean, what's going on with Rudy Giuliani? What do you make of these comments?
Well, I mean, these were appalling comments, and I got to say I was surprised. I thought we might be done with this. The president's not on a ballot anymore. There's absolutely no reason to say it. It is so wrong. And I tell you, the thing he said that really bothered me, in a way even more than he doesn't love America, which is absurd on its face, is he wasn't brought up the way you were brought up and I was brought up. What in the world does that mean? What kind of code is there? Is it that he lived in Indonesia? Is it a comment on who his mother was? I mean, what does that mean? And I just was astonished by it.
Well, Jason, I see you shaking your head. I mean, what is it a code for, using EJ's term?
He's that black guy in the White House that I've never liked. I mean, that's the code speech. And really, I think what Giuliani should recognize from his ridiculous statements, and Republicans should realize as well, is this is not a winning strategy. It's not just poor leadership. It's not a winning strategy. One of the high points of the 2008 presidential election was John McCain countered one of his own supporters and said, look, you know, Barack Obama, I disagree with him, but I would never question that this gentleman actually loves this country. And that's, you would think the Republicans would be smarter by now.
No, well, let me go to that a minute, because I think that's a very important point. Let me play this for you. John McCain, who I disagree with, did have the courage that we are not seeing any Republican contender have. Watch this.
I can't trust Obama. I have read about him, and he's an Arab. He is not. No.
No man. He's a decent family man, citizen that I just happen to have disagreements with on fundamental issues, and that's what this campaign is all about. He's not. Thank you.
Now, EJ, I never thought I would miss John McCain, but this is the kind of leadership you can respect even if you don't vote for, and we've not seen that. Now, Senator Rubio did say on the record he disagrees with Giuliani, but none of them have come out and shown what John McCain said in a crowd of people where he could have been heckled. None of them has shown the kind of moral strength.
No, that was very gutsy of McCain, and he got criticized from some people to his right for saying that.
He did.
And Marco Rubio, God bless him, I mean, he was very straight up, said almost exactly the thing that John McCain said. And I think, you know, there are two things about this. What does this say Republicans really think of their own people? Because this is their judgment on their own base, and what they are saying is their own base believes this stuff. That doesn't show a lot of respect for your base. But what they also don't get is there are plenty of people who aren't liberals. There are plenty of people who may not have voted for President Obama, but they are very uncomfortable and unhappy when politicians talk like this. So I think they are definitely making a mistake with middle-of-the-road voters, but also I think it says terrible things about their analysis of their own party.
Well, Jason, let me go back to another point you were commenting on. Giuliani told the New York Times his comments weren't racist. He says, in fact, some people thought it was racist. I thought that was a joke, since he was brought up by a white mother, a white grandfather, went to white schools, and most of this he learned from white people. This isn't racism. This is socialism, or possibly anti-colonialism. Now, I mean, how do you react to that? Aside from the race part, and aside from the fact that the grandfather he's talking about that brought him up was a World War II veteran who fought for the country, is he condemning anti-colonialism? I thought all of us were anti-colonialists. I mean, I don't even understand the logic of what he's saying here.
Obviously, Rudy Giuliani doesn't even understand the level of criticism he's throwing out. Number one, I've never heard of Punahou High School in Hawaii and Columbia being called white schools. That's the first thing. But second, you know, on the one hand, it's President Obama wasn't raised by people like you, and on the other hand, well, he was raised by white people in the Midwest. On the one hand, you know, President Obama is a horrible dictator. On the other hand, President Obama is a feckless coward in the face of ISIS. You know, Giuliani represents a throwback in the Republican Party to let's just keep throwing things at President Obama. And this is where this ends up again being a strategic problem. He's not on the ballot in 2016. And if they keep wanting to bash President Obama, it's going to make it that much easier for very likely Hillary Clinton to say, see, look at these guys trapped in the past. I represent the future.
Now, EJ, one of the more striking parts of Giuliani's interview was about 9/11. Listen to this.
President Obama didn't live through September 11. I did. President Obama didn't almost, have a building fall on him. Myself and my police commissioner and my fire commissioner did. So, excuse me, it's a little bit emotional for me, but it's also real.
I mean, I'm totally, what is that supposed to mean?
Well, I think if we weren't mayor of New York, if we weren't in New York City when 9/11 happened, we didn't feel it. I mean, the whole business, Rudy Giuliani in that period gained national notoriety and a lot of respect because every American felt hit by 9/11.
Absolutely.
And so for him to say that, he says, it's very hard to figure out what he's trying
all
to say.
of us, I lived in New York. I was in New York that day. In fact, it was the mayoral primary day. I was in New York that day campaigning to find somebody to run against Rudy Giuliani. Does that mean I didn't love America? I mean, the logic of that, what I'm trying to find out, I said he was a fading Republican, desperate, because there's not even any logic to any of these things he's saying.
I think maybe we just shouldn't be looking for logic here because I'm not sure there is any.
Why can't the relevant guys running today in the Republican Party condemn it? That's my real point.
Yeah, no, and I think they should be out there, and I think it would be in their long-term interest to be out there, but only Marco Rubio's doing it.
Now, Jason, in terms of the 2016 Republican hopefuls, Mother Jones writes, this could be an opportunity for Jeb Bush to speak out. Quote, Jeb Bush could, if he's smart, he will. Taking a public stand against Giuliani would cement his position as the adult in the Republican field. Jeb Bush is trying to run as the so-called moderate. Why haven't we heard from him on this, Jason?
Because I think if there's anything we've seen in the last 8 years, there's not much political hay to be made of being the adult in the room. President Obama has been the dad-in-chief with the Republican Congress for years, and that hasn't necessarily helped him. I think any presidential candidate who actually cares about this country should come out and condemn these kinds of comments. But I think Jeb Bush in particular, I think he, like Hillary Clinton in some respects, is I don't want to say anything that's remotely controversial right now. I just want to slide into eventually announcing that I'm running for president, because he believes that long term, if he just ignores things like this, it won't come back to haunt him. So, strategically, maybe Jeb Bush thinks it's a good idea. I think from a leadership standpoint and a statesman standpoint, it's kind of cowardly, and it really ruins the kind of public discourse we need to be having in this country going forward.
Well, EJ, Dionne, and Jason Johnson, thank you both for your time tonight. Have a great weekend.
And you too,
Thank
Reverend.
you. You too, Rev.
Coming up, President Obama on fire today.